There's a whole bunch of new pets that you can get in Skyrim Anniversary Edition or part of the Creation Club content that's been around for a while. One of them is this Bone Wolf. I'm going to be straight honest with you right now rather than long out a video. He's not really worth it. He doesn't actually attack when you're in combat. His only use really is to carry your items and maybe send him back to one of your homes. But that said, I'm going to show you how to unlock him because he's pretty tough to get. You have to complete quite major missions in Solitude and it's quite involved, and there's been a few glitches over the years that have stopped this. So let's go. You can see I'm at the Winking Skeever in Solitude. You need to talk to the barman before he tells you to head to Solitude. Cool. It may be quite a few times you have to talk to him before he gives you the mission. Once you get there, you won't be able to talk to Falk until you see a little cutscene between the Queen, and then he'll give you the mission of clearing that Wolfskull cave. This section's pretty short. It's a small cave, but it does have some challenging necromancers in it and some Draugr. It's just to the west of Solitude along the road, and you should find it no problem. A few skellies will guard outside, and pretty much for the whole of these missions, which will probably take you about maybe 55 minutes an hour if you're doing it nice and gentle, or you know, you've not maybe got the best gear. I would say you need stuff that contends with mages and definitely anything that helps with undead. So if that's summons, swords or weapons that do extra damage, make sure you've got something that will take them out. Lots of Draugr Wights, Draugr Scourges and Draugr Deathlords, as well as some Vampire Lords too. But the first part of this mission is relatively easy. Just keep following the paths down. You come to a great big hole and you can pretty much just go all the way to the bottom of it before eventually coming across a huge massive tower. This tower has someone trying to raise Potema. I think that's her name, some long forgotten queen now turned evil god deity. So you got to get up there and basically interrupt it. There is a ton of Draugr on the way up there, and like I said, loads of necromancers and mages. Sadly, none of these necromancers have any of the new necromantic robe sets on them. These are one of the places I was trying to find out for ages earlier in the week when I did my guide on that. But yeah, a few little tricks. Don't forget to set a light to the oil to make things a bit easier, and just keep following your way through. I shouldn't really have to explain every beat. Just know there's at least maybe 10 to 12 enemies all throughout this run, and they're all undead, all either necromancers or mages. I have got some mods on to make it look a bit better, but my god, the visuals, I think they're great. And I don't know if it's the game or it's just the mods, I'm not sure. But yeah, Skyrim's never looked so better. When you get up there, you'll have to deal with a couple named ones, and then it's just random dude before they come and summon any other dead bodies, and that should be the end of the mission. You can pretty much head now back to Falk. Just make sure you flick the switch, jump across the drawbridge, and it should eventually take you back to a little bit of a shortcut. Once you get to Falk, this is where some confusion sets in. In the past, this quest was bugged. People weren't getting the next stage as it's meant to be delivered by courier. So people will resort into pickpocketing Falk, he has the letter on him, and that was potentially working in the past, or if you had console commands on PC you could cheat that way. But they eventually patched it and it does now work. What people aren't saying is you've got to wait 4 or 5 days for it to actually happen, and you've got to travel around different parts of the map. So basically do this mission, then go and do a bunch of other missions, a bunch of other work, and come back in 4 or 5 days once you're ready. You saw eventually the letter got delivered, and I've got 2 in my possession because I did try stealing one from Falk to get it going, but the quest never started like that. It wasn't until I waited nearly 5 days and going to different locations that I finally got the actual mission. Now he directs you to the Hall of Dead and speak to Styre. The Hall of Dead is pretty much just as you come off Castle Dower. You should see it here, it's hard to miss. He'll give you the key that will get you access to the crypt underneath the Temple of the Divines, and this is where you weren't able to actually access unless you had this proper key. So head up to the Temple of the Divines, obviously next to Castle Dower or part of it, and you should find down below a door that you can now open.
You've arrived at last. The hero who prevented me from being bound returns to my fold.
I was starting to really realise that maybe magic's not the best thing against other mages. It's been a while since I played Skyrim, so maybe fireballs, low level ones, weren't the best thing. So if you've got higher powered spells, you might be okay. You are going to take on around 16 to maybe 20 different enemies, maybe even more than that in this run. And as I said, you've got these Night Lord vampires that are pretty tough, as well as a bunch of death Draugrs, death ones. I am skimming through it. Like I said, this took me about maybe an hour, but obviously I like to wait a few days for it to happen as well. And just getting through this place is monumental. There's so many different levels and layers, so following it all around. It's not that complicated. There's no like different ways to go. Pretty much it's all just the same way, just deeper down following the corridors, but it's filled with loads of enemies. So whenever you can, take out the vampire lords first, as they will summon other creatures, as well as obviously some of the Death Draugr as well. You will come to a little switch and you're pretty much meant to pause it as it opens up onto the doorway, but instead I just ran through. But you're going to need to remember that trick in a while, as there's 3 of these doors all stacked together. There's a couple points where you'll be able to stop to maybe repair some items or craft some new gear, get some new potions, and take a look at the artwork explaining Potema. This is the room with the switch, and this is where you get attacked by another Night Lord, so make sure you take care of her. And then we can go ahead and open up the switches. So basically, first switch, second switch, third switch, there's 3 different doorways. Just pause it when it's due and you should be able to get through no problem. There is a little treasure room, and I didn't work out how to get into it. I'm guessing there's some sort of secret passageway that I didn't find. But honest, I was so long going through this area, I couldn't be asked. A few traps as well with the soul gems, look out for them. And then you come into this next room and you've got a vampire that was super easy to kill, and one more Death Lord. I haven't shown every encounter with every creature in here. Like I said, count at least 15 to 20, maybe even more. And the final one is pretty tough. I reckon you're probably meant to be like level 60 or 70 before you really take this on. So unless you've really got stuff tuned to take out Undead, or you've got a big amount of healing that you can do on yourself, then yeah, you might find it challenging. I'm pretty high level, I'm like max level at the moment. I'm wearing some decent armour, I've got decent weapons, so yeah, and I still found it fairly tough. But yeah, bring anything that does damage against vampires and undead especially. There's some really nice little set pieces like this where it just summons all 3 of the bodies, and eventually you'll make your way through after another decapitation of these vampires, and eventually you'll make it through to the main chamber. Now she does quite a bit of lightning damage there, so the best bet is actually follow it around. Just keep running around, don't fire at her, you just need to defeat the Draugr. That's as simple as it is. She'll summon about 3 waves of them at least, and there will be some Death Draugr there as well, the biggest, highest ones, some Scourges too, and they do summon their own creatures like Frost Atronox as well, so be careful for that. Obviously this is part of a mission structure just for this, and it's meant to get you ingrained in Solitude so that they thank you and they love you off. Not really the end goal of just getting a wolf, but that wolf will not spawn out at the beginning, the bone wolf. You won't find it in the cage, and you won't find that necromancer there until you've done these missions, so you can't really even skip this part. So keep fighting through, like I said, keep running around in circles if you really are a bit on the edge in terms of your health and taking these guys out, and eventually, hopefully, you'll take out the last one. Potema's remains will fly off, and again I thought it was pretty visually good, it was stunning looking, through the doors, and yeah, you've only got to face her skeletal remains now on a throne. Now she wasn't actually that tough by the time I got up there compared to some of the Death Draugrs and stuff like that, so eventually take her out, pick up her dainty little skull, and then all you got to do is escape. Now you can escape nice ways. There's a little door at the back you can see. Obviously don't forget you can get some loot from the chest as well. But there are still some enemies. You'll still come across a couple more Death Draugrs in here, as well as a few more skeletons. And I didn't really check to see if this was the way to get into the secret treasure room or not. I'm guessing not. I'm guessing the entrance was somewhere else. You'll come out on top where you can see the Slanty Lode, I think that's the name of it there, and just head back to the Blue Palace. Make sure you talk to Folk first. Apparently it can still break the quest if you go and talk to Styre, so always talk to him first. He'll give you a bunch of gold as well, so it's pretty good for that, about 1800 gold, and you've got 1200 for the first mission, so that's decent, that's like 3000, and then once you spoke to him, given the remains, that is almost it. You then have to travel to another city, and hopefully you will receive the quest to go and get the Bone Wolf. You should find it pretty much any village. You won't have to wait days and days. I went to the nearest one, and the courier turned up pretty much instantaneously. Read the letter from Bolgia, and then you'll have the Let Sleeping Wolves Lie. You need to go to Folganir, which is just south of the actual Blue Castle, and you'll find a couple bone wolves to take care of, and then the Necromancer himself. And then that's it. Like I said, it's a cool looking pet, and as long as you don't mind him not attacking things, sometimes they're not even that useful anyway. If you just want this as part of your roleplay, then absolutely go for it. And I'm sure some of you guys have probably done a lot of these quests anyway, so this will just be a bonus now, hence why I left timestamps for you to go ahead and skip to it. But that is how you get the Bone Wolf. Enjoy, check out the rest of my Skyrim guides, tell me what you want to work on next or want to see me do, and I'll see you lot later.